kind of just start by reflecting on death. So, Zarbin is no longer with us. He has
Do
gone
we
on.
know that?
As far as we know, well, not in character. We're just kind of talking out of character because I know the recording of the session with Zarbin's death. It cropped out on us in the end. It failed. So, do you guys have any questions about the death? I know you guys were able to kind of like piece together the combat, and most of the questions kind of came with the aftermath. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much it's what it is. I mean, essentially he summoned a demon, even though uh, Zarbin had been wanting for pretty much his whole life since he had known this this goddess that he had been worshiping. He'd been trying to seek her out and actually find the answers to what he'd been following, so much so that nothing was going to stop him from the answers.
Very well. Yep. I know on the topic of the Yoko, someone had mentioned something about its dominate person ability. I purposely did not use that ability, and the logic behind it was that there were divine wheels in motion that required Zarbin to make a choice on his own. That is why dominate person was not used. I was actually very shocked at how well Zarbin lasted, how long he lasted. I expected it to be very quick. And once the Yokol got Zarbin down so far, I planned that the Yokol was going to beat him down. This is how I pictured it in my head. He was going to get beat down and mount little to no offense at all on the Yokol. And with that happening, I had envisioned the Yokol turning into the mist and kind of switching up the positioning to where Zarbin was in the middle of the Yokol and the cliff. And the Yokol was essentially going to throw Zarbin over after kind of torturing him for a while. But shockingly, Zarbin lasted. He stood his ground, mounted a whole lot more offense than I thought he would. And the Yokol decided not to play any games and just end them. And in death, Zarbin finds what he has been searching for his entire life. He finds himself standing before Amora, before this goddess, this goddess in the body of what I picture as a young adult woman, streaks, her hair blue with streaks of silver. But then as he finds himself standing before her, he sees her flesh kind of just begin to deteriorate and like age instantly before him. And half of her body, the skin begins to turn into this dark pale skin similar to that of the drow and other underdark races. And as the skin begins to change, a spider lower body begins to form, and it begins to sprout out these legs. And she also sprouts out 2 extra arms. So there's this like 4-armed rider hybrid creature, one side pale skin, one side dark skin. And he sees that the darker skin colored tone side of this creature is completely dominating the light-skinned side that is weak and barely sustaining. And he learns the truth of Amora slash Malith Hathamora. He learns the truth. I don't know how much you guys have been able to piece together of this. I've kind of been throwing in little nuggets of the tale as we've gone along. But the tale of Malith Hathamora is when the highest of the deities came down and took a slave as his wife. That slave was Malith Hathamora, or then just Amora. From this relationship, the Elven Empire and the races of the elves are born. Following the Elven Civil War between the Age of the Elves and the Age of Man, the Drow run into hiding. They flee into the Underdark, and they position themselves around one of the, vases housing one of the parts of the remains of Roven Rage. Backing up a little bit, when the highest of the deities came down and had relations with Amora, he imparted his light into her. And as the Drow fled into the Underdark, their patriarch mother, Amora, fled with them. Being in the Underdark away from the sun, though, that divine energy, it began to dissipate, it began to fade away, while the divine energy of Roven Rage from the vase that they had kind of gathered around, it began to take over her entire body, and slowly she transferred from Amora into the Drow goddess Malith Hathamora. And there's this kind of war constantly between the two sides, with the darker side standing stronger. And Zarbin finds himself seeing and witnessing the truth of his goddess, and he finds himself entering into her fight to help sustain her and help fight with her. But then, as he has entered into his peace, he hears a voice. It's the same demonic voice that he heard before he died. And this demonic voice, Michael, it says, "I wish for that peasant to be removed from the light of Amora and plunged into the darkness of Malith Hathamora." And Michael, Zarbin's entire soul, it is flung into darkness. And as it is flung into darkness, he is restrained and forced to watch Malith Hathamora torture Amora.
Nice.
Is this the end of Zarbin's story? That is the question, though. Only time will tell.
Or will he smack a bitch up?
Maybe. Zarbin, the slayer of gods. No, probably not going to happen, buddy. Maybe. Okay, so, yeah. So, the Ring of Wishes is gone. I know there was no party conversation as to what happened with the egg, as the party was not together when we began the mini session. So, on just good judgment and keeping the story progressing, we are going to say that the egg went with Elgin and Teshik. So you guys have the silver egg in your possession. When you moved from the temple into Ovenfoliox, the king, Robalcancall, he granted you guys stay in his underground palace. So let me switch over to the city of Ovenfoliox, and I will just reveal the layout of it real quick. And it's not to scale. When I say it's not to scale, like that, like kind of like maze, like fortress maze before you actually go into the city, It's going to look very significant in size and comparable to the rest of the city. The rest of the city is very much bigger. So use your imagination, I guess. Bam.
Well, look at that.
Boom, 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 boom.
Oh, real quick, what's the name of the city again?
Ovenfoljax.
I'll try to spell that.
I can spell it. Okay. Dun, 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 dun.
Actually, when we say Zarbin left his backpack behind that had the silver dragon egg, and he left a note that saying that he might not return, but he wishes y'all a good life.
Do you think Zarbin went into that whole ordeal expecting to die?
Not necessarily expecting to die, but expecting for there to be great change.
Okay, so Teshik is the only one thus far to have entered into the city of Ovenfoljax. When you guys do enter into the city of Ovenfoljax, you guys see these 5 pillars glowing with the lights of the suns and the moons, and then behind them is this like massive statue. It looks like it's had an ancient statue with like a head kind of like chopped off of it. Um, and there's kind of like these like big like stone like walls that kind of like ascend up probably like 50 feet. And to go any further, you have to enter into like another little like fortress type things. And as you enter into it, there's like quickly like a door on the left and a right, and they enter into different areas of the city. The area this away is kind of like the slums, I guess, the avenues of the deep. And then this way, the crater of ash, the dead and Ovenfoljax are burned, and their ashes are kind of plunged into this great, just kind of like chasm. And then when you exit out of the like little fort thing, there's like a mine that they have like kind of built into their city. There's a merchant district with some shops. Bright Skin district. The Bright Skin district. It is very few in numbers. The gnome that you guys met, that was of a pale skin, of a surface skin tone, that spoke the common tongue. Him and his family pretty much live there. You get the impression they are very wealthy in the city. There's a temple district, Temple of the Five. You're able to piece together it's a reference towards the 3 suns and 2 moons of ancient times. The crater of light and the lightless. When you guys enter into the city, like enter into like the main part of the city, this is probably what sticks out to you the most. It's this big kind of like crater in the middle of the city. It's probably like the lowest part of the city, but ascending up out of this low part, it's this tower that just constantly glows. You ask about this tower, and you are told that there is a mighty gnome wizard that lives there. And then the deepest avenues is kind of like a noble district, Forges of the Deep. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's where all the like gnome forges are. They pride themselves in their forge. And you see another kind of like walled fortress. Beyond the walled fortress, you see a palace piercing over the walls. You guys, and when you first enter into the city, also, Teshik, something that strikes you, I'm not sure how you'll respond to it. You see a gnome kind of picking away at the moon, at the pillar that gives the light of the moon that you worship, and it's picking away with it with like a pickaxe. And it sees you guys come in, and it turns to you guys, and he falls on his knees. My king, welcome back, he says in a tongue you don't understand. And then the like king walks up and pats him on his head, and he looks to you guys. Come, come. And he marches his way towards his Underdark palace. Is there any action you guys would wish to take, or do you just kind of go along?
No, I'm still pretty exhausted because we're still. This is right after we just got done fighting.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
This is right after. So
yeah.
you guys are like half dead.
No, I'm more than half
You
dead. I'm almost all the way there.
yes. Okay. So you guys enter into the palace. You are amazed at kind of how well put together this like palace is. Like when you go in, like everything seems ornate, finely done. Some of the like finest craftsmanship you've ever seen. When you like enter into the corridors of this Underdark palace, you see like ornate like markings and writings on you. You can tell all kinds of different languages, all kinds of different writings, kind of written just all over the walls. You see murals of different scenes, murals of ancient fights, murals of ancient heroes, kind of scattered all about. You see multiple bookshelves with books that look like they haven't been touched in ages. You see candles, lots of candles. The king leads you through. You guys pass through a room with like a massive like kind of buffet type thing on like a center long table. King pretty much says, help yourself, it's here constantly. He leads you down a few more halls, and he points to two separate doors, and he says, two of our finest rooms. And this is also pretty late. If you remember, before you guys even went to that temple in the last session, there was, you guys were in the process of setting up camp. So you guys were about to crash when all of that went down. So it's pretty late. He says, rest up, and I'll be hanging out in the corridor with all of the food tomorrow. So night comes. You guys sleep.
Yep.
Would either of you wish to frame a scene as you sleep, or as you like prepare for bed? If not, we can progress to the next day.
Teshik, you want to
go? Sure. Okay. I guess all this talk of Alatari Anna and whatnot. Well, or not talk of, but can't say the name. So would be a good time, I guess, to introduce the story behind that. I don't know if you guys read all that stuff or not, but hold on, let me pull it up. So the story of Alatari Anna, I guess you would maybe hear me being told the story by by one of my mentors or something like that. But the story of Alatari Anna goes like this. Let me pull it up. Okay. Okay. The moons of Warforged are not gods in the traditional sense. They do not meddle in individual affairs. An attempt to extend their reign as some of the major gods do. They are not worshipped, because all who would worship the moons understand the beings behind them would take worship as an insult. So the relation that lunar tribes have with moons reflects that of silent respect, like that of young children sitting around their grandmother. Indeed, the moons are described as the most pure, eternal spirits of the world. Beings that demonstrate moral purity to an extreme degree are offered the option of ascending to moondom. A moon has a selfless existence, an eternity of silently providing light, warmth, and order to the people of the world. Only 2 beings in the entire history of Warforged have been deemed morally pure enough to ascend to moondom. The first is Alatariana, the peaceful mother. As a mortal, Alatariana was an elderly elf who lived well into her 800s. For practically an entire millennium she existed, yet over the entire course of her life never committed a single selfish act. Alatariana resided in a great town called Sovgard, now long gone, although its ruins are rumored to still exist. During her time, there's a long reign of great selfishness. Kings, in their attempt at purity of their kingdoms, would exile the poor and the homeless to Sovgard, rather than try and address the issue themselves. The result was a population of hundreds of thousands in Sovgard. Plague, starvation, thievery became rampant. And then along came Alatariana. It was rumored that those around her almost felt an aura of peace and tranquility. She slowly built up soup kitchens, low-cost housing, sustainable farming, and her teachings were that of purity. Your skills and your trades are best served to the improvement and well-being of the whole, is what she taught. Despite all odds, Sovgard slowly turned around into a functioning city. The king of the time grew afraid of such a large city falling into order, and so he murdered his wife as a gesture of his love for the incredible beauty and abilities of Alatariana's leadership, offering her his hand in marriage and free reign to do whatever she wanted as his queen. Alatariana refused. The king, in all his fury and without warning, unleashed all his armies and all his beasts upon Sovgard. The gods felt Alatariana's death was not appropriate given her greatness, and so she ascended to a moon. She became the crystal moon, which very famously crashed into the world to purge the black mist. For those who follow lunar lore, this was seen as Alatariana's last and final gesture of order. The black mist killed, turned the dead into minions, brought great disorder, and attempted to bend the will of inhabitants of the world. So Alatariana, in her last will, smashed her crystal form into the world, ripping her soul into pieces across the world and absorbing the mist so that order and peace could again be restored. The black mist was ruthless, however. It could not control Alatariana. Her will is too pure. So instead it punished her, forced her to relive her most painful memories, and so for all eternity, Alatariana must live in eternal pain in every shard of her soul. It is said that those who find themselves in the presence of one of her soul pieces may end up experiencing the painful aura that result from the black mist and Alatariana's internal struggle. End rant. So that's the background behind the crystal moon that's known as Alatariana to the Druid people. Yeah. Any questions about Alatariana or Teshik's relation, like in terms of his tribes and whatever they say of Alatariana or anything like that?
I know this might not be quite so directly related to the story, but you were talking, I think last time we played, how just being away from the moon, you felt weak. Does Teshik actually have like somewhat of his life force comes from the moon, or just or his will to survive and thrive comes from being that connection to the moon?
Yeah, I would say I roleplay it that way. I guess specifically as a druid of the moon, I feel like a lot of my power comes from the lunar cycles, and so I just feel like being underneath the earth and everything, I would slowly be getting like drained of energy, and it's kind of like it's kind of like let's say you lost like your clock or something, or your phone that keeps track of all your information. Like I feel like a moon druid without the lunar cycle, or like without being able to know what time it is or like what the moon cycle is, would like slowly just start losing his like sense of like organization and everything, and it kind of just starts fucking with your head, right? So I kind of visualize it like that too, because the moon cycle is a way of like keeping track of what's going on in terms of like the world, and there's like a lot of like different beliefs about the different moon periods and whatnot. So I would say, yeah, that for sure, that I definitely feel at least more freaked out, and maybe mentally speaking, it causes me to feel like I'm weaker than I actually am. But like, I guess physically speaking, I probably doesn't change anything, but it's like that mental barrier. So
Mhm.
So, if you guys don't have inspiration, feel free to mark it down. The night progresses. I would imagine that you guys probably sleep a lot longer than you normally would, being as this is the first night in days you've had an actual bed um, and shelter, and after the massive exhaustion from the day before. So I would imagine you guys sleep a lot longer than you normally would. Imagine you wake up a bit later than you normally would. You do wake up though. The next day comes around. Do you guys remember how much HP you had from the last session?
4.
Oh dang, that's not good. You did level up though. How much HP did you gain in the level up?
Oh,
You
I didn't
actually
know.
get all hit points
Oh,
back
you.
on a
Yeah.
long rest
Oh,
in 5e. So
okay. So, what is everyone's max HP and AC?
Uh,
38 HP, 16 AC.
I have 50 HP and 19 AC.
Do you want mine?
Yeah.
16 AC, 25 HP.
Did you roll for all your health?
I took the average.
Oh. Oh, and you also have that -1 con, right?
Yep.
Not good. Okay. So, Zarvin, I believe when we talked about your character creation, you had connections with the King of Oven Foliox, right?
Loose connections.
Okay.
Oh, do you get max HP on your first level?
Yeah.
Okay, mine should be 29, not 25.
Do you have a certain way you're wanting to introduce your character, Michael, or do you want me to just take my liberty?
Do with it what you will.
Well, I'd say upon waking, Elgin just looks at his armor that he had hastily removed, and, like, gone to sleep just from sheer exhaustion. He sets about that morning to cleaning his armor up a little bit, removing the blood and whatnot, and shining it up. Just general maintenance. It's been taking a beating since he's been traveling through the Underdark, and now that he's fairly rested and had a chance to actually take a look at it and manage it, he's taking full advantage of that.
Nice. Keshik, any certain action from you?
Is what while sleeping or during the day?
As you wake up,
As I wake
as
up.
as the day gets started.
I was probably like cuddling with the gem or whatever of Altaran or whatever it was. I don't even know what the term. We should probably have a term for it is, but I was like kind of cuddling with it, and I would just sort of wake up and kind of just be resting it like on my forehead with like my arms across like my chest kind of thing, and just be like sitting there like pensively.
Maybe element of Altariani.
Okay, do that. Yeah. So I'm just kind of chilling like that.
So I would imagine you guys make your way into the like dining chamber where the king said to meet him, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You guys make your way into there, and as you do, the king's already there. Um, you pull up a seat next to him. You sit down with him. You notice a lot of people in and out to kind of greet the king, speak with the king, bring like issues to the king. Everyone approaches respectfully. They like bow before him. They greet him. They kiss his hand and whatnot. Um, Everyone seems to love him and adore him. Um, you guys have breakfast with the king, probably more along the lines of lunch, as it's probably a little bit later in the day. However, as you guys are in the process of this whole shebang with the king, the doors open, and normally when someone comes through the doors, come through the halls, they're assisted by a guard. They're assisted by a guard. They come in very politely, very calmly. The doors open, and a gnome comes in. This gnome is unassisted. He's loud. He's obnoxious. He doesn't seem to have the same manner of respect that the others have. And as he approaches in, Elgin, you see a sight that you've never seen before. Teshik, you have seen this sight before, as the highest of your kind is of this race. The highest of your kind is of this race. As this gnome comes through the hall, there is a drow to his side. So what are your guys' initial thoughts when you see this obnoxious gnome come in with a drow to his side?
I'm not really focused or caring. I mean, this isn't my city. It's not my king. As far as I'm concerned, my job down here is done. I'm just waiting for Zarpin to show up so we can head out.
Okay. Teshik, is there any thoughts from the druid?
I don't think anything would stand out. I mean, I've seen a lot of weird shit down here, so.
Okay. This individual approaches, and as he does, you see him and the king have eyes locked. There seems to be a little bit of tension between them, a little bit of tension between them. This individual approaches. The individual nods his head to the king and says, "Greetings, Robalcancall." This is the first time you've really heard someone call the king by his name. They usually address him as "my king," "my lord," etc., etc., etc. And as this individual greets the king by his name, the king looks him up and down and responds to him. "What do I owe the occasion to, Gaggleton?" The individual says, "I'm not here for you this morning, my lord. I'm here for these." And he sits down, and his eyes meet the eyes of Teshik and Elgin. And he proceeds to speak to you two. And he says, "I see you have met our king down here. Our king he's an interesting character." And he looks to him, and he smiles, kind of condescending, kind of like in a manner that, in a prideful manner to him. The king kind of rolls his eyes, and then the individual looks back to you. "My name is Vamajan Gaggleton. While Robalcancall is our king, I see to it that all of our laws down here are upheld, and I keep everything in order. I understand that there have been several of troops from your city on the surface that have come down to our city down here in recent months. You notice that this gnome also probably speaks the most fluent common that you've heard so far down here. He even speaks it more fluently than the gnome that you first met, the pale-skinned gnome or the light-skinned gnome. I understand that several of your parties have come down here recently. And as you have ventured down here, you have not brought us trouble, you have not brought us pain, you have not brought us grievance. You've actually came down here and you have done us much favors. Myself and the other powers that be down here in Ovenfoliox, we would like to establish relations with your city on the surface, if it at all be possible. I hear you gentlemen will be leaving soon. I would like you to take a representative from our city with you. He is the son of one of our nobles down here. And to kind of make sure it won't be a burden with you, I will send I will send my ranger friend here with you. And he looks to the drow next to him. And then he looks back to you. I know there are many tales of horror of his kind, but I assure you, he is not like his kind. He is pretty much one of us here in the city. He has seen much pain and grievance from his kind. But he seeks now to do a service for me. And he will see to it that our representative is taken to the city, taken to the surface, and then connected with the right people, and then he is free to go about his own will. He smiles to the drow, and he smiles at you too. So what do you say? What are your thoughts?
I just couldn't hurt to have company. I just really need to get back to the surface soon, I feel like.
Yes.
And if he'll facilitate that, then it's fine by me. If I recall, it wasn't exactly the easiest getting down here in the first place.
He then looks to you guys, and then he looks to Rabalk and called the king. Have you showed them have you told them about our passage? The king responds, no, I completely forgot about the passage. Of course you did. He rolls his eyes and he looks back to you. And then he proceeds to speak to you guys again. As you can see, there is need for an individual to keep things in order down here. And he looks to the king again, kind of condescending in a belittling manner to him. And he looks back to you guys. We have a very well guarded passage to the surface. I believe there's a series of chasms on the surface. Our passage to the surface that we have, it is very rarely opened. But it is a much safer route to the surface and a much shorter route to the surface. I can see to it that you are given passage through it. And then if we can establish relations between our people and your people, maybe we could see to it that this passage be open more frequently. But we shall cross that bridge when the time comes. Also, the representative, the son of the noble that our drow friend here will be seeing to that is taken to the surface. He is the son of a very wise wizard. This wizard is known for crafting many trinkets, and he is known for his enchanting paralysis. I believe maybe you gentlemen should stop by and pay him a visit. Maybe pick up his son. If not, the drow could possibly go and do that by himself while you guys sit back and relax. But I do believe that this noble was employed by a few of the knights that came through before you guys did. I believe that one of the knights had begun commissioning a project that has not really taken off yet. They were still working out some details on it, while another knight had a small trinket crafted. Maybe you should stop by and take a look at it. That since they unfortunately will not be able to follow up on these endeavors.
Yes. We'll certainly be doing that. We plan on leaving as soon as our companion gets back. Um, no offense to anybody, but the time down here hasn't exactly been the easiest on us.
I I understand. I have heard many tales of many people not accustomed to the ways of life beneath the surface, and they speak of it as hell. Likewise, though, us down here typically view your land as hell as well. And he kind of gives a kind of a playful smile to that.
Yeah, the drow would
Um,
too.
um, also, let it be said though, the passage with quick access to the surface, it has not been used in years. Um, and one of the reasons it was sealed off, there were, well, how do I say this? I don't really believe it's a concern now. Much time has passed, but down here beneath the surface, everything that is in this region, it really was birthed by two different dens of dragons. A den of a great silver dragon and a den of a black silver dragon. And the two were constantly at war, the tales say, the history says. But it is said that both of these dragons, they had deformed and mutated offspring that they rejected. And when they rejected them, the rejected offspring fled to the surface. And that is why the area was sealed off. But that was ages ago. That was thousands and thousands of years ago. The dragons are dead. The mutated offspring, I bet, are dead. But yeah, we have sent a few scouting expeditions up there in recent years, but no reports of really anything. So should be fine. Forewarning though. And then he gets up and he turns his back and he begins to walk off. You guys are left at the king's table with food everywhere, and this drow has joined the table.
He grabs a piece of meat and starts eating it. Oh, real quick, can elves have beards?
No.
Okay. So is it all? Is it all like hardwood floors, or
Do what?
is everywhere else you know
It's
shaded?
pretty bare. It's pretty bare. It's pretty bare.
Okay. Just so I
If
know,
it
so I can
wasn't
get in the
bare,
character.
if it wasn't bare, the child would be kind of shunned like the mutated dragon offspring.
Okay.
Sweet. Yeah. So, just kind of sipping on whatever beverage I have, and I just look over and take a look at this drow that's going to be part of our escort now.
Yep.
He looks back at y'all.
Well,
So
Ranger, what do they call you?
My name is Raiden.
Well, Raiden. What do you do down here? Right, Ranger. We've got those that call themselves Rangers up top, but they're normally out playing with birds and field mice.
As you say that, you'll see like a slithering like underneath his cloak, and then like you'll see like the head of a silver snake pop out.
I see. So, play with snakes.
I'm sure that you would appreciate such delicacies that we do not find down here.
Well, as long as you can hold your own, I'd assume so, seeing as how it's quite a hearty group of people down here. I mean, by all means, your king is quite a fine warrior himself, willing to charge headlong into battle.
Oh, he is not my king.
Okay.
Just don't tell him that.
He looks over at you, hearing every word you said. Filthy devil drought, filthy devil elf.
He'll just smile at the king.
Yeah. Well, it's quite a tactful thing to
But-
do there.
You should not have to worry. I know the Underdark like the back of my hand.
Well, that's good because I don't. And our friend that makes lamps out of rocks is taking his sweet time getting here this morning. Whenever he went off to go inspect some cave or den or something like that. So,
Yes, I
surely.
heard of a cleric of Hathmora that came from the above world.
Something along those lines, yeah.
That is very strange.
Yeah, just
Should we go find him? Quicken the pace, so to speak.
find him where. I mean, the only thing that the gnome
The
said
king
was,
speaks up. The king speaks up. They'll be back. I sent 2 of my finest men with them. They'll be back.
see, should be back.
Yes, I am sure he is fine.
He's a tough little bastard.
Yes, y'all all seem very hardy. It's rare that we see people so tall around here.
You got the Dwemer, the little assholes. Then you've got the gnomes, fine people. And there was some rock creature that chased us around. He wasn't exactly a little guy either, but and the drow that we had a lovely encounter with when we first walked in. So yeah, I'd say most of the people down here are pretty short. In fact, strangely enough, most of our encounters up on top have been with short people. So
Really, I've heard many tales of giants and other strange creatures.
no, we've been in one of the largest cities up above. So I guess it's perhaps it's the safety of the walls. It keeps bringing all the little ones to pester me.
Yes, you do seem like a strapping young man. And he kind of gives you the eyes like he looks you up and down.
With that, Elgin just kind of like reaches out and grabs like a piece of food and focuses on that. Just like, just like, kind of does like one of those curt nods, like, okay, and just slow turn. I'm gonna go back to eating now.
So, do you guys? So he spoke of the shop, the noble shop. Would you guys venture to that shop before Zarbin, or would you be doing it with the impression that Zarbin's coming back and you're going to go once Zarbin has come back?
I mean, if we sit there for like 5-10 minutes after everybody's eaten, it's one of those things where like I'm tired of looking at the king and pretending like he was really helpful. Uh, I'd probably start getting restless and like looking around and trying to avoid making any further eye contact with Raiden.
Anytime you like notice his face, he's just got a big grin on his face.
Yeah, just like kind of shaking my head a little bit. Like, shit, another weird one. Just kind of look over at Teshik. Teshik, anything you want to do down here? Maybe.
I'm pretty much done with these caves.
Oh, you can go stare at that stone for a bit that they've got out in front. I mean, we can go talk to the wizard. I mean, Zarbin seems to be taking his sweet time. So,
I suppose I could go meditate next to the moonstone for a bit.
okay, well, you're a lot of fun then. Just kind of like glance over and see that. Just check to see if Raiden's still looking at me. I assume he's just like creepily staring at me while I'm trying to ignore him.
He only tries to make eye contact you when you're like in direct like eye contact range. But other than that, he's just acting normal. At
Okay.
least, as normal as a drow can be.
Yeah. Kind of just stand up and just scoot the chair back. I'm like, well, I'll be back. I'm going to. I guess I'll go check out the wizard. Might as
Do you
well.
mind if I come with?
Just look at him real quick. I'm like, you gonna keep creeping on me?
I do not understand what you are talking about.
I figured, sure.
I guess I can describe what he looks like real quick.
Yeah.
He's got like medium length hair that's kind of like one side is buzzed and it hangs down on one side. It's like really like obsidian black hair that has like really nice sheen to it. His skin is like light purplish, and he's got like these vibrant purple, like bluish, like lilac color eyes. He's really short. You're not sure if all drow are this short, but he's like barely 5 feet tall. And he's got like this really nice black looking cloak that kind of stands out from the rest of his like really tattered gray clothes. And he's got a black and purple like falconer's glove. And you notice that he has 2 sets of quivers on his side, but you do not see a bow.
Well, yeah. So you didn't see any like swords or anything on him. I'm trying. Just...
I think if you like try to expect a little bit further, you'll notice that he has a what appears to be a short sword and a dagger, on his back.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of hidden by the cloak.
All right. Well, like, very well. Come along, Raiden. I assume you know the city better than me. I'd rather not get. I mean, it's a tower, but
Are you wishing to go to the actual like wizard tower or are you wanting to see the wizard or the like noble shop that I mentioned?
I guess it was the noble shop, right? It was the wizard's
Yeah.
apprentice that was making the things.
The the so the guy didn't really say what the like this guy with the shop what his relationship is to the wizard. He didn't say anything about that. But this shop it's kind of built onto the side of the tower. This like tower when you go down towards it, go down to it like there's this like massive entrance where you can like enter into it, and there's a few other kind of buildings kind of like built on to the side of it, and they kind of scale up a little bit for a few stories.
All right.
But shop is like one of the biggest buildings kind of built onto the side of it. Um, you guys head on in, and when you walk in, the place it seems like a complete utter disaster. It's a mess. There's just random crap everywhere. Um, though there are a few there in the midst of all the random crap, there are a couple shelves that seem to be very well kept. There's like 5 shelves that are very well kept. One of these shelves has a collection of rods on them. Another of these shelves, it's just kind of got like a few rows of rings. Another shelf has a few different clothing items. Another shelf just has 3 mugs. There's a shelf with like a book, a few books, and like a scroll. And then there's a 5th shelf with a bunch of just different miscellaneous objects on it. And whenever you walk in, there's this kind of like kind of sound that just like randomly goes off. It's very high pitched, and at that sound, you see a this Underdark gnome kind of run out from the back. He's got these like big goggles on his face, and kind of around the goggles, there's kind of like dirt and like scorches around his face. Kind of adapted around to the barrier of the goggles. And the gnome says, "Oh, greetings, greetings, greetings! Welcome, welcome to my shop. Welcome, welcome. My name is Vixen Dixon Fix. What is your name? I know your name." And he points to the drow. "Raider, how's it been?" And he extends his hand. "Who's your friends with you this day?" "Oh, your friend. There's one friend." He looks you up and down, Elgin.
You people are
Yes.
way too excitable. Just
What?
it's
Raiden kind of
He-
just nods his head behind him.
it's a little daunting sometimes, to be fair. Taxing.
No.
Can't blame you.
He-
You know, this seems like quite the place to be enthusiastic. So,
Oh, it is. Look at all my stuff. And he looks around and like he picks up a random book. He's like, "Oh, what's this? This one's nothing." And he kind of tosses it aside. Not everything's precious. Some things are precious, though. Say, you look like one with many precious things. And then his eyes are instantly drawn to your bracers. He's like, "Ooh, can I touch?" And he kind of extends his hands with his fingers kind of flailing a little bit, and he looks up to you.
Sure.
Ooh, he starts rubbing the bracers. Ooh, he's like tickling them and kind of giggling while he's doing it. And then he puts his hands abruptly to his side. He's like, "Enough of that. You're tall and you're pale. Or you're not pale, you're white. You're bright. You're not like us. We're pale and we're dim and we're dark, and you're pale and you're bright and you're light. You must be from up there." And he looks up and he points up. "Ah, yes. You must be with the ones who come to take my son and come to kill the big monster spider." "Yes?" And he nods his head.
Well, we killed the Drider, and your son.
Yes, listen, I said monster spider, and you said drider. That rhymed. You fit in so well down here. You sure you don't want to stay, mate? But
Yes, are you
yes,
sure you
my
do not want to
son.
stay?
Huh?
No.
But anyways, my son. He looks to the drow. You're supposed to take him when they leave, right? You're still taking him? My boy is ready to go off on his own. I have taught him well. He will be a great gift to your kind up there. And he points up.
Yes,
Now,
I'm
I've
sure
taught him well.
they will be delighted to meet him.
now,
Yes.
you speak so fast sometimes. What was your name again? I'm sorry. It's just
My name is Vixen Dixon Fix. Vixen Dixon Fix. It, like, you can make a song out of it. Vixen Dixon Fix. Vixen Dixon Fix. Vixen Dixon Fix.
all right. So
Huh?
so
Yeah.
so Vic, let's. I mean, you seem like a guy with passion for magic. I'd assume.
Oh, yes. And then he reaches out and starts tickling your gauntlets again. Say, I'll trade you something for these.
Uh, Good luck getting them to work for you. I don't think that's how
Ah,
they'd work. Not
huh.
an expert in magical items, though. Mainly because, well, there's a bit of a ban on wizardry, kind of hunting them down and slaughtering them.
What? Who would do that?
Um, I don't know. I don't make the rules.
I call shenanigans on that because one time, a few hundred years ago, there were some people that came down here because that someone very important from the surface needed something done, and they had me do something to that sword. Yes, and he's tapping his finger. What was their name? They said they came in the name of Heladada or something. I don't know. But they had me do something to a sword. I don't know. But they seemed very important. But this was a few hundred years ago. Ah, I don't know. The time goes by so quick.
I bet it does. Well,
Huh.
I have to say, you know, besides the fact that this, oh look, it fucking stopped. Um, yeah. Well, I don't know about 100 years ago. I'm not quite that old, Vic. So, I don't know what caused this hatred of magic. Um, so if your son at all is pursuing that, uh, he'd be best to do so in secret up on the surface if that's his plan. I'm sure that
I
there's,
will definitely have a talk with him.
uh, but the main reason why I've come here is there's a lovely gnome, his name by the name of Gaggleton, and he told us that
Yes, Lord Gaggleton.
yeah, he said that the last group of adventurers, I guess, that came through here, they had commissioned some project, and he said to talk
Oh,
to you about it.
yes. Yes. I made a trinket. I specialize in trinkets. You see that shelf and that shelf and that shelf and that shelf and that shelf. They're all full of my trinkets. Some people, they would say my trinkets are useless, but they're not. They are very, very wonderful. They're not for sale, though. None of my trinkets are for sale. Maybe we can trade, though, if you are interested in some. Maybe work some trinkets. They're too valuable. I'm about to give you guys access to a handout. This is the shop of Dixon Fix.
Yeah, it's a really famous shop. The old Vixen Dixon 6.
Already seen it.
Yes.
Off of it during his character.
Yeah.
Items with flavor stuff. Nothing is any
You're cutting
at
out.
all. For example, like there's a magic ring, a magic detection. This item is